Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is the Raw Reacts. Anthony Alfred here with you. Trying a new setup, so we'll try to map out the little setup here as we go. But things I like, things I didn't like coming off of SummerSlam coming after Raw after SummerSlam. It feels like tonight's show had a feel of a Raw after WrestleMania. So that's what you're gunning for. And it starts with the main event angle. At the very end of the show, we have multiple world title contenders. Now, I like how it was set up, of course. As I mentioned last night, I thought it would be smart business if LA Knight had a big role on this show, and he did, with Seth Rollins because of the injury thing. And we'll talk more about the injury ramifications coming up a little bit later in the video. But overall, a great night to set up angles, right? You have the returning CM Punk. Of course, LA Knight making a claim because the match didn't have a finish. I think technically LA, whatever, the match was tossed, but LA has a claim. And then what I liked, and I thought about this all day today. I'm like, what if Roman Reigns actually challenged Seth Rollins as opposed to Cody? Now, I still think you're going to get Roman and Cody main event of WrestleMania, but this is the feud that needs to be addressed first, but it won't happen right now. So you kind of see the stage being laid out. The injury angle, multiple spears, 3 tsunamis. And with Roman Reigns, you're probably not going to see him until Survivor Series. That's your Survivor Series main event for the world title. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns for the championship. Now, unfortunately, that also means that once they run back Seth and Punk, Seth is probably going to win those matches. So this is one of those cases. It happens from time to time where WWE says, hey, yes, we have multiple contenders for the world title, but don't worry. Seth's not losing any of those guys. Seth and Roman at Survivor Series. So I guess I have this as a like, but as I'm talking through this right now, I probably don't like it because it's kind of predictable, laying out the foundation for the rest of 2025 over on the Raw side. But on this night, we needed to see Seth Rollins' group be established. We finally have a name, division, all laid out. Seth Rollins laid out his plan, said who knew about it. He utilized media very well, and you have a new champion. Now, later in the video, I will tell you a critical aspect of this angle that I don't like. This is a two-parter. So all the things I said I do like, I'll share in a few minutes what I don't like from this angle, and I think it's big. So stay tuned for that. A few other things that I liked from tonight's Raw. Honestly, there's going to be a lot of individual performances that I'm going to lay out here. Becky Lynch, line of the night, the "you can't see me" line, of course. I know it's tired and true, but when you get baited into it, you got to sometimes take the bait. And I like just like you. It was great. It was great to see because Nikki couldn't see it. Nikki couldn't see that. But I thought Becky Lynch overall had a really, really great night. The Intercontinental Championship is in an interesting spot. I think this is one of those cases where it is spread a little thin because you do have the women's tag, that being occupied. You do have of course, the women's championship picture. That's occupied right now. By the way, nice little feud, a teaser of a feud with Asuka. The Kabuki Warriors talking to Io, and then Rhea Ripley comes into the scene, and Asuka's like, hey, your friend's here. Get ready for an Asuka Rhea Ripley feud this fall. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But Becky's in an interesting spot, and that Intercontinental title is an interesting spot because it is, in a sense, kind of a Becky facing legends from the past. So it's in an interesting spot. But I have to acknowledge, Nikki is back full time. From the looks of it, she is back full time. So I can't just be like, man, why did they put this spotlight on Nikki? You know, she's part-time or she's bare. I guess she's back full time. So if she's going to be a part of this, put her in a feud with this. Although at some point, you would like to see somebody from the NXT Women's Division brought up. But at the same time, you already brought up Stephanie Vaquer. You already brought up Julia. You know, you can only bring up so many people. But I do like that Becky, Natalya stood up to Becky, no problem. I wish we get Natalya that we get a blood sport, but, you know, this is what we have to settle with. And Becky said, I accept, to Maxine. And Maxine generally, like, genuinely, like, whoa, I don't want to face her. But the time is going to come next week, going to have to face her. Also mentioned a couple other individual performances. New Day, I thought, has some of their best work as far as carrying out their grieving heel heat. You know, they are heels. Got to remember that. Carrying that out. I do subtly like the little story here with Grayson Waller. Somebody who's not a babyface. He's a heel, but, you know, it's really a high school children's type story in the sense of somebody who supposedly thinks they're popular, is trying to earn the trust of the cool kids, but then in order to do that, he's putting down others. So it's fun in this case to root against Grayson Waller, and it's fun to see that New Day is like, yeah, we're bad guys, but whatever. And, you know, as long as Grayson Waller continues to prove himself, New Day got to listen, but we love to see Grayson fail. And now ultimately set up when New Day eventually tells Grayson Waller to F off. When Austin Theory comes back, Grayson's going to try to reform that team. And Austin Theory is going to have none of that, and he's going to be massively cheered. I mentioned when I went to Raw in Columbus back in late June, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory worked a tag team match on the main event portion of the tape, the WWE main event tapings, and Austin Theory was massively over as a babyface. Just be ready. He's massively over. Got to also point out Dominic Mysterio. Again, another killer night for Dom. Him and AJ, low-key, has become one of the top feuds of the summer coming out of this. They both look great. Dom looks great. Love it. Heel heat all the time, 24/7, even in interviews. Acknowledging his deadbeat dad. He is a deadbeat dad. Acknowledging that. All the history from the SummerSlam match. I know we didn't get a chance to really get into it yesterday, but all the history that referencing Ray versus Eddie from 20 years ago, 2005. One of my favorite childhood feuds. In fact, perhaps the childhood feud that locked me into pro wrestling forever. It was that feud. It was Ray versus Eddie. That whole summer of 2005. And then it all culminated with SummerSlam 2005, where Ray and Eddie had their match for the custody of Dom Mysterio. Two great feuds, by the way, from that summer. You had Ray and Eddie, and I'll also admit, and I mentioned this before, if it's in the context of pro wrestling, we'll talk about it, Hogan and Shawn Michaels. A great feud that summer of 2005. The only feud where Shawn Michaels in the second run worked as a heel. Massive heel. They had that famous turn on Hulk Hogan. back in late June of 2005. And if you remember the famous Larry King sketch, if you've never seen it, go watch it. That Shawn Michaels impersonated Hulk Hogan in that Larry King sketch. Super kicks everybody. It was great. They have the match. I think Hogan won the match, of course. And then what was great, the next night on Raw, the Raw after SummerSlam in 2005, Hulk Hogan doesn't show because his run is done for the year. Shawn Michaels comes out, and he's, I didn't get the job done against Hogan, da-da-da. Hogan's gone, but the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, is still here. He immediately turns babyface again, and then his next feud is with a young, at the time, very young, Chris Masters. So it was kind of cool seeing Shawn Michaels in that role. But anywho, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. But just thinking about SummerSlam 2005 brought back that memory. All right, I do want to address two things that I didn't like. One is minor, kind of minor, but it could become major if it's not addressed. I was pretty annoyed with Alexa and Charlotte today. Very annoyed. Now, I'm thinking big picture. Hopefully, this is all right, Charlotte, just because you won the title, you still need to be humbled. So I'm hoping that's the case, but promo was very rough. Now, and then I also put in my notes, I'm indifferent about Nikki Bella, but I kind of addressed it before. Again, she's back full time. Got to use her. And hopefully, again, short term and start to get some women up from NXT. All right, the big one. We should take the last few minutes here. So let me get this straight. So Seth Rollins, on television, they went hard. Adam Pearce went hard at Dominic Mysterio for his medical and delaying his match with AJ. So let me get this straight. Seth Rollins, on television, lied to the medical staff, lied to Adam Pearce, lied to everybody. Went on Rich Eisen, lied to them. Legitimately lied, right? And the only punishment he receives is, he has to defend the world title tonight. I don't think in the grand scheme of things... and then Bronson and Braun Breaker were both banned from ringside. I don't think that punishment was harsh enough. I don't think it was harsh enough. I'm a little upset at LA Knight because I don't think he showed enough anger in the situation. I think it was, clever. I deserve a championship match. I needed to see more fight, honestly. I needed to see LA Knight kind of go after the knee a little bit. But for me, personally, you got to hit some other stipulations on top of you got to defend the title. I almost would like to see Seth Rollins, hey, guess what? You got to have 2 matches. You got to have 3 matches. You put them up against jobbers, doesn't matter. But there needs to be some actual repercussions. Like, say that there's a fine, something, anything. I understand anything short of, I can't strip away the title. But I'm going to make sure that this ain't cool for you whatsoever. I'm going to make sure that this is not where you want things to be. I just don't think, and it's interesting to me, television, the announcers, nobody mentioned what the injury was. And I think now that Seth is wrestling, I think it is worth mentioning what they thought the injury was going to be. It just seemed like to me, they didn't really, on one hand, they did capitalize in terms of Seth being the champion and having challengers, but on the other end, this is pretty damning. This is, in the world of professional wrestling, very damning that you faked an injury, faked everything, and then you're cleared. So were you never injured and you just faked it? you just decided to throw the match. I don't know. I think, I'll say this. I think if AEW did this, we would be extremely harsh on AEW for doing this. So I do got to deliver the same attitude and the same treatment towards WWE in this case. It's, you start to question other injuries. Oh, Gunther's out indefinitely. Okay, what is, with what, right? So I just don't, again, this is not going to damage this story or anything like that. Show moves on, and that's that. But I want to see and want to hear more details about punishment. You can't just show up and say you're injured and you're out, and then you randomly show up and you cash in, you're the world champion. So I don't know if we got enough out of that. So it's just one of those things. Oh, and then last thing too, we have multiple El Grande Americanos. I have no clue what we're doing with that. Are we going to have 3 of those guys, 4 of those guys, 20 of those guys? Is that what we're doing? I mean, it was clever when it was just Chad Gable, and then he got hurt when it was Ludwig Kaiser, so you had 2. But now we got 3. Now, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. And it starts to lose a spark. You think about, oh, Sting is Sting. And then you have NWO Sting. But then when you add a third Sting, it's like, I don't know. So, a very eventful night coming off of a hot pay-per-view with SummerSlam, with Monday Night Raw. We're going to have NXT tomorrow. And as Kyle mentioned, we're going to be live in downtown Cleveland at the Wolstein Center Wednesday night for Dynamite AEW. Kyle and I will both be there. I will be okay. I'm concerned for my friend and co-host Kyle Cornell for Wednesday night. That might scar him for good. I don't know. What will not scar you, since we have this set up, is this. I don't know if you can see. You can't see the colors. This is W Energy. Your taste buds' favorite energy drink. Your taste buds' favorite energy drink. Again, no sugar, no artificial flavors, anything like that. W Energy. Multiple flavors. You'll love it. Again, 8 to 12 ounces of water. Get your energy going before your workout, before your work day, after your work day, whenever. W Energy. Again, W.GG. Type in the promo code SHWP10. That's W.GG, promo code SHWP10. Get 10% off any one of these when you go online. All right, that'll do it for us. Again, NXT review tomorrow. AEW Dynamite review. Might do a live from the arena on Wednesday night. And then SmackDown. Oh, I do need to let you know with SmackDown. Probably start with me. With high school football coming up and other Friday activities. Starting this week, expect the SmackDown Reacts on Saturdays. Going forward. Again, as we enter into high school football and then now roll into high school basketball, there's going to be several Fridays in the next several months where I will not be watching SmackDown live on Friday nights. So, just forewarn, again, we got Cena, we got Cody both on the show Friday. The reacts for this, don't be alarmed if you don't see it Friday night, because you won't. Saturdays, you're going to see my reacts. All right, we're done. Hope you like the new setup. We'll work on it and all that. But have a great night, and let's do this again tomorrow.